now, and if people come in, they won't miss much in the first couple of slides. So I'm Eric Moffat. I worked on Eclipse for 13 years, mostly on the platform. And just recently, last year and a half, I switched over to Orion. I needed some web experience, basically. And over the time that I've been there, we've done a lot of work on a lot of different tooling. I'm giving a talk tomorrow, shameless plug. But one of the things that came out of that was we needed to update our editor. So we used to have an editor widget, which is just the basic text editor, did a little bit of syntax checking, showed some errors and warnings, did color coding, but that was it. As our tooling got better and better in Orion, we started getting requests from more and more companies to please give us this thing so that we can embed it in our tooling. So this is a way for other people to pick up an editor that's basically almost fully functional and very customizable and use it in their own web interfaces. And we've been working with a lot of different people on this. It turns out, like I say, there's a lot of Node-RED, there's people from Oracle, there's people from IBM, there's Xtext are all interested in using this technology. So they've been giving us a lot of feedback, interesting things that we wouldn't have thought of, like internationalization for a code editor like that. So what is it? It's a widget. Basically, you can construct one of these guys in any div. So you build a page, you make a div, and I'll show you the code after. It's very simple. And so you install this on your server. So you install a thing on your server, and then you just do codeedit.create, and you pass it the div name, and you get an editor. Now, what makes it good is we can't give you everything, but what we did do was make sure that we didn't lock you out. So we're highly customizable in the sense that you can take what you get, or you can either write your own stuff to fully customize it, or you can take more of the plugins that Orion already has and load them in, but that's up to you, right? And we give you the low-level access to the guts of the editor, which means you can get all those things, set text, get text, set the content type, all of that type of API is available for you to work on your web page. So this is the web page that actually brings up, so I'll be showing, this is the page that will eventually come up. Sorry. This is what the Orion editor looks like in Orion. And you'll notice it has a whole bunch of things. We're not talking about that. We have a banner with menus and stuff in it. We have a sidebar with all Git and things. We have this, and this is an interesting one. The side panel's not there. Only the editor is what CodeEdit does. And one of the results of that is certain things don't work like search, because there's no search results pane to show search in it. So that's just an example. So I'm just pointing out there that we're only talking about the white area. Even the header is gone, because the header is actually part of our multi-pane story. So this is what the actual, this is Orion running the thing. We'll be going over this page in not too much depth, but some depth. But I just want to demonstrate something first. So right now, if I open this page with the web browser, not the editor, we get something that has loading language plugins, but nothing else. It's not working right now. So what I'm going to do is make it work. First thing I have to do is create a new folder here. And ordinarily, you'd go on our website. We build this every night. So ordinarily, you'd go to our website and get the zip file I don't trust the web, so. I'll just bring it in. It's not very large, it's about 1.3 megabytes. It's not very big. Now, all of a sudden, that I brought it in, if I open it with the web browser again, oh, that was interesting. So now what we have is, this is, there's two panes here. I'll show you what the difference is between them. The first one is where we start. That's the normal, this is the normal code edit page that has the HTML tooling. This one is set up for HTML, for JavaScript. And it has, you know, quick fixes, undo, redo, content assist. So it has a lot of different things that the other editors couldn't, that the original text editor couldn't give you without plugins, because you have to know too much. So now we have the JavaScript plugin, we have the HTML plugin, and we have the CSS tooling. So we get all three. So if we go back to the code here now, I'll show you how easy it was to get that up. The upper pane was created by this. So that's all you have to do in order to create it. And it runs as a deferred. So basically, when you're finished getting the viewer up, it comes back. So this is why the second time I ran it, instead of seeing loading the code plugins, it actually ran the, since the plugin's loaded, we ended up with the plugin's loaded message. So that's the that's this pane here. Now the lower pane is an example of the type of customizations that we can do. So if we come back to the code, we actually take that pane and we override some of our services. So if we look at the second thing, we create the code edit viewer, but we also get the service registry from Orion, which is really what was missing from before. You couldn't add stuff to it because you had no way to register anything of your own, or for other people like us to register stuff for you. So in this case, we've registered a hover service, a specific hover service, and a specific content assist provider. And that's for people that they maybe have their own language. They want to use code edit, but they're in a completely different space. So they can provide their own hovers, they can provide their own content assist, they can provide their own other services if they're needed. The implementations of these guys are up here. So the content assist provider, so the hover, and content assist provider. So you can see that all of this comes out of, 60 lines of HTML. So what do we do? Well, we can't give you everything, right? We can't, otherwise you'd have Orion. And people don't want that. When you're embedding something, you don't want to pay the footprint on your server, you don't want to pay the footprint on your pages. You want, if it's just a snippet editor, you want it to come up right away. It should be very lightweight. So we get the basic original editor, we get the JavaScript, HTML, and CSS. We get a large set of content types that we support for syntax coloring and various other things. And we get access to the editor viewer API. So that's, taken together, you can write a lot of code here. I'll show you some of that in a sec. I won't be writing the code, but I'll show you basically how easy it is to work with. How do we produce it? This slide is important because this isn't something that's static. We actually take from the Git master every night, we take all those toolings and build them. So there's a build of code edit built every night at the same time we build Orion. And there's a web page you can go to and download the latest build. So it means as our tooling gets better and better, your experience will also get richer and richer if you're using code edit. So showtime, it's, here's the showtime. That page was pretty boring right now, right? So let's do something. Let's copy this page out. So now we have, so I've just pasted the text from that file into here. But you'll notice that we get all these errors and it's because when the page was originally defined in here, it was defined with application, that's the content type. What we want to do is change that to HTML because we're looking at an HTML file now. So now if I take this page, now if I refresh it, it's going to actually go back to the old text. But that's not really a problem. So now what you see is so our errors are gone, but now we start getting some of the support that you get, like you get hover support. So I could have easily added 2 buttons on the page that would set the content type using the API. I could have had HTML and JavaScript set up as buttons on the page quite trivially. People do that. It's just a one-line click. It's a one-line call to the text view to say, here's the content type. And it'll refresh the page automatically. So it's quite capable of taking large pages. It's much more amenable for people who want. Node-RED does a really good job with this. That was one of the first customers that we had that came to us. Node-RED basically has a diagram. They use a diagram coding system, visual programming. And when you double-click on a node, they want it to bring up a little JavaScript snippet editor. So they bring up the snippet editor, do your thing, and then they save it back in the file. So the file system is something that we intentionally chose not to bring in because we don't know where you're going to host your stuff. So we don't know what your file system is. We don't know if you want a file system. If you're a snippet editor, you don't care because you're going to get the text out of the object using the API and stuff it into your model. So I'm speaking ahead of my slides. Sorry about that. So what these guys did was have a save button. They just treated it like a hover. You double click on it, it comes up, you edit, it goes away. I have questions. Basically, I'm not done the talk, but I left a lot of time in case you guys have questions about any particular type of customization that you want me to try and do. There's a whole bunch of different information on this page that has to deal with various customizations. So, does anybody have any questions? Or have I sped through this too quickly? I can demo some of the, you know.
I have two questions.
Okay.
So the first one is there an NPM package available?
We do node programming in Orion, and I think our tooling already supports. Now, we support a large number of node libraries, for example, for Content Assist. So we've taken the templates for those guys. We do understand the import mechanisms, and we have more than one type of import mechanism that we understand. We use require in Orion, but we understand the imports, and we understand, you know, and we do the same with CSS. You can do CSS imports as well.
Next question would be whether there is some React binding. So we use in our application React JavaScript framework from Facebook, and
I can promise you that that will be tooled up, and the reason is because I think we're going to switch to it as well. It's one of the things that we're looking at going forward. We're just doing an evaluation of it literally now. Right, so there certainly will be React support. Sure.
Is it possible to reuse the navigator pane as well?
Again, there's two bits to that. Not out of the box, but at the same time, you could create a code edit pane and put it in. We don't want to, once you start getting the side panels and the other things in, you may as well just use Orion, because you know, you're getting, the tooling is about 60%. If you don't need the Git support, the Git support's the other large one that we have in Orion. So we have Git tooling and everything else. But most people that are doing this in their own environment, they have their own whatever mechanism. It might not even be Git. So we don't want to bulk up the thing that we're putting in, because it should be as lightweight as possible. Otherwise, system IT guys go, I'm not putting that on my server. I'm talking now with Denis to get to make sure that the Planet Eclipse blog site installs this, so that when I write blogs, I can actually put code in, and you can actually get Content Assist and stuff on the code. I think you'll find other people, because there's a lot of code that shows up in Planet Eclipse, and I think we'll be able to easily induce some of these guys writing the blog to use this editor while they're going. It's sort of our secret weapon it's our candy to get people to look at Orion. So like I say, this is more popular. It turns out Orion has, you know, it's not Eclipse. It has hundreds of thousands of users, but that's hundreds of thousands, not millions, right? But through this, we can expose Orion to all of these other companies who are embedding the Orion editor, the code edit widget, into their tooling. People might see that and go, that's pretty cool. And then they lead back to code edit. So it's sort of, it's ecosystem friendly. I mean, we're doing this to help other people write their web development environments, right? This would only be useful for somebody who's writing a development environment. And since we believe in web development environments, helping somebody else get their stuff working faster and cleaner and leverage, you know, it's like we're at the keynote, find your partners, right? So this is a way for us to find partners. Once they get it, then they start working with us and providing suggestions and helping us make even better extensions. Yep.
So what are the server-side requirements to get this embedded editor?
Literally on the server, you would unzip this file in some place. You would put that on the server, and the trick there is, the reason that I'm cheating here, by the way, because I can't use the web, so I'm running on localhost. But if you notice that the addresses that we use for the imports, the path is so right now, the reason that I put the editor build install here is simply because that's a pair of this path. So basically, if you install it on your server, you would only change the path here to point to where it is on the server. This is the only difference. You unzip the file someplace, and then you make sure that when you bring in code edit, these are all minified, by the way. When you bring in code edit, you have to match the path that you're importing it through to where it is. It's not rocket science.
Another question. This is just a set of static web pages. So static JavaScript files, static HTML files, CSS, or is there something?
No. This is something that you build your own pages.
Yeah, I understand. Right. But when I install it in the server, like he asked, then I just copy a set of files to the server and have nothing running, so it's just an...
They just have to be accessible.
Okay, yes.
Right. And
it's not talking back to the server, calling REST API to get files or whatever. That's what you have to build.
no, yeah, that's that's why we don't have a file system built in. Most of our clients don't want one. The downside to it is you lose a little bit of the tooling that we do have, because we can do a fairly, in the real Orion editor, we do things like that. But that particular hover requires that we have the file system working, because we actually do a crawl to go find out where that file is. So since we don't have a file system, there's no way to crawl through the files. But most of the other content assist works. Content assist works, the hovers work, quick fixes work, for the things that aren't file related, basically. And one of the interesting things that I think, this will be more in tomorrow's talk, but we have, this is an HTML file, but we have all of the tooling in here. So in the JavaScript areas, not too much for that. I know better than to do this. So we get content assist. And our content assist is actually interesting because it's built, it understands the type. So basically, you can do content assist in JavaScript, you get hovers for CSS, and you get hovers for HTML. So all the tooling synchronizes because we realize that people write, there's many styles of producing web pages, God knows. But a lot of people mix all three of these things, so we realize that the tooling for HTML, specifically the tooling for HTML, brings in all the other tooling, because it knows that it's probably going to be needed. If you're working on a JavaScript file, you can get away with not loading the plugins, because the plugins, it depends on the speed of your network, but you don't want to be loading up a bunch of plugins that you're not going to use. I was hoping to be able to get the Itemist guys here and show you how they use it for Xtext. But unfortunately, the guy who's doing the work didn't come, so.
I think there's a talk in the next session.
Of Xtext?
Yes.
Running on Orion, yeah. Yeah, I gotta go to that too, because, see, I didn't do any of this, let's be very clear. This was all done by a fellow named Lebing Wang. So he's been working with all of these different guys, and we're very responsive. We want people to do this. So when people send us a message saying, I want to use code edit, we'll work very closely with them because it helps both of us. Right? If we only had the one customer, we would have missed out on a number of the customizations that we eventually tooled up. Internationalization is one of the big ones that we didn't think that people doing snippet editors really had that much cause. But one of the groups, it was an IBM group, required it. So we did. So the trick with code edit is it doesn't run in Orion. So we take out the editor bits, we take out the plugins that we need, but the regular Orion editor runs in an environment that's the Orion core that has the file system implementations and a bunch of other services that it uses. So when we do code edit, what we do is rip out those bits and then wrap them with a bunch of stub services like the file system, so that it thinks it's running in Orion. Right? So we sort of take the dangling wires and wrap them up with whatever. That was the bulk of the work that was required to make code edit, was making it clean at the edges so that we could easily take it out and just replace the services that we need it to get it to work again. Oh. So I'm going to be posting these slides. These will be on my talk. I'm going to upload them right after the session. This link here will lead you to this page. And if you're interested, I would invite you to go here because it has documentation. But this is, for example, the list of different languages that we have parsing for. You know, you got Jade, Python, Ruby. You got the big ones at the top there, but then we got some really weird ones. We got X, Go, Swift, YAML. So we actually, but these things aren't fully tooled, right? They're the basic syntax checking. We build some basic grammar rules to get color coding and maybe a little content assist, but not very much. So they don't have a lot of tooling. But at least we can show you the files and let you work with them and do some syntax checking. And we add these on a regular basis. One of the things we do, of course, is we gather metrics in Orion. And what we do is look at the metrics to see what types of files are being opened. And it's hilarious. So there's Smarty. Anybody ever hear of Smarty? There's a Smarty file. And God love him, one of our IBM guys made one of the demos for Bluemix using this thing. And I guess it's a very popular freaking demo because 10% of the files that get opened are Smarty files. And we're going, we don't have any tooling for that. So Grant Gade is at the office this week. It only takes about an hour to do a basic version. So we have themes. You can change the themes. You can theme the syntax. So right? So you can pass user written plugins, the editor viewer promise. The editor viewer is the low-level APIs into the actual text areas. So you can set selections, set scrolling. You can turn the rulers on and off. So here's, you can take the editor and set these line number rulers. These are these guys. So you can turn these guys on and off. You can turn this guy on and off, this guy on and off. So I've been working in Eclipse too long because I'm just not used to, I'm used to alt-tabbing to get between things. I'm not used to having the two different things in the same application. So basically this, you can turn on and off read-only. That's another thing that people use. So anyway, basically you can do almost anything with this guy that you can do with the regular editor. The low-level API is pretty rich. Supports many different types. You can do multi-select for replacements and things like that. So anyway, I would recommend that people that are interested in looking into this, go to this page. Like I said, it'll be a link on the slides, and get a hold of us. And we'll work with you to make sure that, that you can use this in your world, if that's what you want to do. So that's it for me. The obligatory slide, last slide. And we're all encouraged to encourage you people to do this, because rating the talks is what makes EclipseCon better, right? If people give feedback, then that means something to the way that they organize the events the next year around. So thanks very much. Let's code edit in a minute.